Hey everybody, John Fenn. Once again, answering a question we have, and that question is, how does a house church grow? And house church grows by multiplying in and of itself from within, like a cell, like many of us have seen in our high school or junior high, science lessons where they would show a microscopic view of a cell, how the chromosomes team up on either side, and then the cell divides and becomes two identical cells, and then it grows from there. It's very similar in house church. That is, when you've been rotating between 4 to 6 houses, and you've rotated and different people have led each week, that means everybody in that house church has gotten used to leading and have gotten used to hosting. And so new people come in and you just incorporate them. Where you had 4 couples or 4 families before, or 4 individuals, so you only hosted once a month. Now you have new people come in, and maybe now other people, after they're there maybe half a dozen times, it doesn't have to be immediate, but maybe they're there a half a dozen times, or maybe over the course of 2 or 3 months, and they say, okay, I think I'm ready to host. So they host. So now you're only hosting, maybe you've got 4 more families. And so now you're only hosting about once every 2 months because everyone is rotating around. And now everybody's used to leading. Well, pretty soon you're going to outgrow the living room. Somebody may have a big house that becomes the go-to house that can accommodate everybody, but then you may have somebody who's leading and hosting. Maybe they're in a condominium or a flat where parking is limited and their space is limited, little 1-bedroom efficiency or something like that. And so it comes up as a congregation, it comes up from within. Everybody begins to see something has to happen. Our experience has been you start losing the dynamic around 14 or 15 people. And when you start losing that dynamic, then what happens is you find that people have naturally, through seasons of life and everything else, kind of developed friendships and everything. And so what happens is, as that need, it's not just top-down leadership saying, hey, we've got to do something, but from the congregation, from the people themselves saying, hey, we have outgrown this house, or the dynamics are changing. We've got 20, 25 people now, and it's not the same as when it was when it's just 10 or 15 people. And it starts coming from within, and then the core leaders, the core group, the core leaders will start discussing, and they'll have a congregational meeting with everybody saying, do we want to multiply out? Do we want to grow out? And then that'll be yes, and say, okay, who can team up? Who wants to be part of this? You just have a meeting, you talk about it. It's very simple. And then you find maybe 4 families will start rotating among themselves, and then the original 4 families are back to their original 4 families. What happens that you've multiplied out? You stay related. That's what happened in history. They went from the day of Pentecost with 120 people to saturating the Roman Empire in less than 300 years by doing this method. When they'd outgrow a house, they'd go to somebody else's house, they'd rotate around. That's what they'd been doing. If you'd seen my earlier video about why church in the house, you'll see that was the synagogue system. And so they multiply out, and gradually they just saturated the Roman Empire house to house. And so that's what happens with house church. That's how you multiply, that's how you grow. Now, having said that, it's very simple to stay related. Maybe once a month, once every 2 months, once every so often, you all have a congregational meeting. That is, now you've got 2 separate house churches. They're related to one another because that one came out of the original. And you've got other people involved who don't know you. So what do? You may not have a house that's big enough for everybody. So go to a park, rent or reserve a pavilion. Or we've had house churches who've gone camping, who've done a lakeside picnic and cookout, and as a joint meeting where you come together. You do something, get creative on how you can stay related to one another, depending on the season of the year. We've had house churches who've gone camping together and kayaking together. We've had house churches who've gone bowling together, who have rented a pavilion at a park and had a cookout. You can get creative if you say, oh no, now we've got 2 house churches that are related. We need to, once a month or once every 6 or 8 weeks at least, depending on the season of year, school year, and different things like that, be able to get together and stay related. Get creative, talk with each other, and figure something out, because the possibilities are endless. But the continuation of the relationships are important. And this is what you see in Paul's letters. In 1 Corinthians 1, when he opens up, he talks about the household of Chloe, and he talks about Gaius, his host, and he talks about other churches and other groups of people meeting, and other hosts and hostesses. And you see all these people mentioned there. That's all they did. They multiplied out, and then they stayed related. They stayed related. Get creative with it. But that's how it happens. It grows from within. Then you outgrow a house, and you say, I've got to multiply out. and then you multiply out, they have your DNA, so stay related. All right, I hope that helps. God bless.